Hey guys, today I have a book haul to share with you. So I have 20 books down here at my feet that I'm going to be going through as quickly as I can in this video. There's only a few in here that I have actually read. The majority of them I have not read yet, so a lot of them I'm not quite sure what they're about, but I'll give you plot synopses as I go. And good God, I am so far behind on book hauls, you guys, because some of these books that I'm about to show you, they date all the way back to like last February of 2021. That's how far behind with book hauls I am. It's like I have done book hauls in the past, over the past couple months, because I did like a Christmas book haul and I did like a birthday book haul in March. But yeah, as far as just my normal regular book hauls go, I'm just so freaking far behind and I'm trying to catch up. So yeah, the 20 books that I'm about to show you guys in this video, it's not even all of it. To be quite honest, I have quite a large number of other books that need to be hauled, but I can't sit here and try to go through every single one, or this video would be incredibly lengthy. I'd be sitting here forever, and yeah, I don't really feel like taking everything off the shelves and making a big mess, because like I said, there's a lot of books, so I'm only kind of showing you a small portion of them. So hopefully over the next couple months I can kind of get through some book hauls and get through everything. So yeah, let's get going. First up, this is a book that I have already read and reviewed on my channel, and I freaking loved this book, and it was my favorite book that I read last year in 2021, and this is A Tip for the Hangman by Allison Epstein, and this is historical fiction taking place in the Elizabethan era, following Kit Marlowe. Playwright Kit Marlowe. Yes, that Kit Marlowe, Christopher Marlowe, if you will. And yeah, this is a book that it follows Christopher Marlowe as he's a student at university, how he gets recruited by Francis Walsingham to become a spy, and he goes and does a little bit of spying on Mary, Queen of Scots and whatnot. And then, yeah, kind of in the later half of the book, he has to deal with like this whole conspiracy between Protestants and Catholics, you know, before something really terrible happens with Queen Elizabeth and whatnot. I freaking loved this book. As I mentioned, this was my favorite book that I read last year in 2021. I would definitely love to sit and read it again. I could reread it right now if I wanted to. So yeah, I highly recommend this book if you have not got around to it already, especially if you love all things Elizabethan England. In the Garden of Spite by Camilla Bruce. And yet it says this is a novel of the Black Widow of Laporte. Ooh, okay. I remember this book sounding really awesome when I purchased it, but yeah, I can't quite remember what it's about. They whisper about her in Chicago. Men come to her with their hopes, their dreams, and their fortunes, but no one sees them alive. Or sorry, no one sees them leave. No one sees them at all after they come to call on the widow of Laporte. The good people of Indiana may have their suspicions, but if those fools knew what she'd given up, what was taken from her, how she suffered, surely they'd understand. Belle Gunness learned a long time ago that a woman has to make her own way in this world. That's all it is, a bloody means to an end, a glorious enterprise meant to raise her from the bleak, colorless drudgery of her childhood to the life she deserves. After all, vermin always survive. So it sounds like this is about a female serial killer, I'm thinking. So that's why I picked up this book, because I was like, hell yes. Pupisho. Maybe I'm pronouncing that wrong, you guys. Pupisho by Leon Ross. And I definitely cannot remember what this book is about. There's not even any like plot summary anywhere on this book. This is a uncorrected proof copy. Let me tell you how I even got this book, you guys. I had actually won another book through a Goodreads giveaway. So I got the package with my original Goodreads giveaway book. I got that package, and with that book was also this book as well. And I don't know if the person who was packaging the books made a mistake because I was only supposed to get the one book that I had originally won through the Goodreads giveaway. And yeah, this was just in the same package as well. So I think someone made a boo-boo. I'm not going to complain though. And yeah, like I said, this is an uncorrected proof copy. And yeah, I need to get on Goodreads to even see what the plot synopsis is and let you guys know, because I honestly don't know. Like I said, there's nothing on here to let me know what this book is even about. It says, somewhere far away lies a place called Papisho. It is a place of stunning beauty and incorrigible mischief, destiny, and mystery. It is also a place in need of change. Xavier Redshoes is anointed by the gods to make each resident one perfect meal when the time is right. Anise, his long-lost love, is on a march toward reckoning with her healing powers. The governor's daughter, Santine, is getting married, her father demanding a feast out of turn. And graffiti messages from an unknown source are asking hard questions. A storm is brewing. Before it comes, before the end of the day, this wildly imaginative narrative will take us across the islands, their history, and into the lives of unforgettable characters. And even that's kind of vague and mysterious. I'm still not quite sure what this book is about. When I was kind of scrolling through, just looking at other people's reviews and whatnot, it sounds like it kind of takes place in somewhere in the Caribbean, like a fictional place somewhere in the Caribbean. Yeah, even though I accidentally received this book, hey, I'll still read it because it sounds interesting. In the Shadow of Vesuvius by Tasha Alexander. And this is part of the Lady Emily Mystery series, and I'm not quite sure what number this is. It's fairly late in the series. I started collecting these books later into the series, and I'm slowly trying to catch up on earlier books. But yeah, this one, some corpses lie undisturbed longer than others, but when Lady Emily discovers a body hidden in plain sight among the ruins of Pompeii, she sets in motion a deadly chain of events that ties her future to the fate of a woman whose story had been lost nearly 2,000 years ago. So yeah, this one sounds pretty awesome. It takes place in Pompeii. Great. The Windsor Knot by S.J. Bennett. And this is book 1 in Her Majesty, the Queen Investigates. And then, oh, there's a little thing up here by Ruth Ware. I do love Ruth Ware, you guys. She says, a pitch perfect murder mystery. And let me tell y'all what this book is about, because it's pretty great. I loved it. It's so bizarre, but great. It is the early spring of 2016, and Queen Elizabeth is at Windsor Castle in advance of her 90th birthday celebrations. But the preparations are interrupted by the shocking and untimely death of a guest in one of the castle bedrooms. The scene leads some to think the young Russian pianist strangled himself, yet a badly tied knot leads MI5 to suspect foul play. When they begin to question the household's most loyal servants, Her Majesty knows they're looking in the wrong place. So yeah, it's a murder mystery involving Queen Elizabeth II, you guys. How great. Bizarre, weird, whimsical. I'm digging it. Band of Sisters by Lauren Willig. I do love all things Lauren Willig. I've been slowly trying to just catch all of her books as best I can. This one sounded really good. A scholarship girl from Brooklyn, Kate Moran, thought she found a place among Smith's Mayflower descendants, only to have her illusions dashed the summer after graduation. When charismatic alumna Betsy Rutherford delivers a rousing speech at the Smith College Club in April of 1917, looking for volunteers to help French civilians decimated by the German war machine, Kate is too busy earning her living to even think of taking up the call. But when her former best friend, Emmeline Van Alden, reaches out and begs her to take the place of a girl who had to drop out, Kate reluctantly agrees to join the new Smith College Relief Unit. 3 weeks later, Kate and 17 other Smithies, including 2 trailblazing female doctors, set sail for France. The volunteers are armed with money, supplies, and good intentions, all of which immediately go astray. The chateau that was to be their headquarters is a half-burned ruin, and the villagers they meet are in desperate straits. Women and children huddle in damp cellars, their crops destroyed, and their wells poisoned. Despite constant shelling from the Germans, French bureaucracy, and the threat of being ousted by the British Army, the Smith volunteers bring welcome aid and hope to the region. But can they survive their own differences? As they cope with the hardships and terrors of the war, Kate and her colleagues find themselves navigating old rivalries and new betrayals that threaten the very existence of the unit. Sounds fantastic. The Kitchen Front by Jennifer Ryan. 2 years into World War II, Britain is feeling her losses, the Nazis have won battles, the Blitz has destroyed cities, and U-boats have cut off the supply of food. In an effort to help housewives with food rationing, a BBC radio program called The Kitchen Front is holding a cooking contest, and the grand prize is a job as the program's first ever female co-host. For 4 very different women, winning the competition would present a crucial change to change their lives. And I just thought this was great, because I've read so much World War II historical fiction, and after a while it has kind of got a little dull and monotonous, and this just sounds really unique, kind of just focusing on something completely different but still set during World War II. A Court of Silver Flames by Sarah J. Maas. And this is book 4 in the Court of Thorns and Roses series, but to my understanding, you know, the first 3 books in that series, they were focused on the character of Feyre and her love interest Rhysand. And yeah, this next batch in the series, I guess 4, because it's another trilogy, I guess books 4, 5, and 6 are focusing on some other characters and what's going on there. Yeah, focusing on Nesta, who was Feyre's sister in the first 3 books, and I guess her love interest and what she's up to and whatnot. Yeah, since this is book 4 in the series, I'm not going to sit here and read the synopsis because it's probably going to have spoilers in it. But yeah, if you love the Court of Thorns and Roses series, you probably definitely want to pick up this next batch of books coming out. And Only to Deceive by Tasha Alexander. And this is another book in the Lady Emily mystery series, but this is actually book 1 in the series. I had managed to finally grab the first book in the series at a used bookstore, and yeah, it sure is a cruddy copy. It's kind of falling apart. But yeah, this first book in the series, Emily agreed to wed Philip, the Viscount Ashton, primarily to escape her overbearing mother. Philip's death while on safari soon after their wedding left Emily feeling little grief, for she barely knew the dashing stranger. But her discovery of his journals nearly 2 years later reveals a far different man than she imagined, a gentleman scholar and antiquities collector who apparently loved his new wife deeply. Emily's desire to learn more of her late husband leads her through the quiet corners of the British Museum and into a dangerous mystery involving rare stolen artifacts. To complicate matters, she's juggling 2 very prominent and wealthy suitors, one of whose intentions may go beyond matrimony into darker realms. Dear God. The Rebel Nun by Marshall. I am not going to try to attempt to pronounce that one. Whenever I do get around to reading and reviewing this book, I'll definitely make more of an attempt to figure out how to pronounce the author's name. I love the simplicity of this cover, you guys. It's all white and there's some flowers on it, and you have like the red writing. I just love the simplicity of it. Sometimes you just don't need a bunch of wild and craziness on a book cover. It says this is based on the true story of Clotilde? The daughter of a 6th century king and his concubine, who leads a rebellion of nuns against the rising misogyny and patriarchy of the medieval church. Oh, okay, yeah. I remember picking this up thinking, okay, that sounds great. I don't read too many books about nuns, but yeah, the few that I have read, it's like, I weirdly enough like them. It's like, nuns make for interesting characters, apparently, in historical fiction. Dangerous Women by Hope Adams. London, 1841. 180 English women file aboard the Raja, embarking on a 3-month voyage to the other side of the world. Their daughters, sisters, mothers, and convicts, transported for petty crimes. Except one of them has a deadly secret and will do anything to flee justice. As the Raja sails farther from land, the women forge a tenuous kinship, until in the middle of the cold and unforgiving sea, a young mother is mortally wounded, and the hunt is on to find the assailant before he or she strikes again. Each woman called in for questioning has something to fear. Will she be attacked next? Will she be believed? Because far from land there isn't anywhere to flee, and how can you prove your innocence when you've already been found guilty? This sounds great, you guys. It sounds like the whole thing just takes place in a ship out at sea. It's full of just a bunch of women who society just deems as wrong and whatnot, and you got some convicts, female convicts. This sounds great, and there's some sort of crime. I can't wait to get to this. Chain of Iron by Cassandra Clare. And yeah, this is book 2 in the Last Hours trilogy. I have read and reviewed this book on my channel. So yeah, you can either go check out my Goodreads review or check out my video review for this. And yeah, this is book 2 in this series, like I said, so I'm not going to sit here and get into it overly much because of spoilers, but yeah, just know that it takes place in Cassandra Clare's larger Shadowhunter universe and whatnot, and yeah, taking place in the early 1900s, if I'm not mistaken. The Downstairs Girl by Stacie Lee. I actually purchased this book because Starbucks had a little thing like, hey, buy one of our beverages and get this book for $5, and I was like, oh yes, that's a deal. And plus, Stacie Lee also, around the time when I got this book, Luck of the Titanic was coming out, which Stacie Lee wrote. So I kind of wanted to get Luck of the Titanic and this book, and I was like, well, that kind of worked out. So yeah, this book, Atlanta, 1890. By day, 17-year-old Jo Kwan works as a lady's maid for the cruel daughter of one of the wealthiest men in Atlanta. By night, Jo moonlights as the synonymous author of a newspaper advice column for the genteel Southern lady, Dear Miss Sweetie. When her column becomes widely popular, Jo uses the power of the pen to address some of society's ills, but she's not prepared for the backlash that follows when her column challenges fixed ideas about race and gender. While her opponents clamor to uncover the secret identity of Miss Sweetie, a mysterious letter sets Jo off on a search for her own past and the parents who abandoned her as a baby. But when her efforts put her in the crosshairs of Atlanta's most notorious criminal, Jo must decide whether she's a girl used to living in the shadows, or is she ready to step into the light? Sounds great. The Rose Code by Kate Quinn. I like the yellow. I like the yellow of this cover. There's not too many books that are like yellowy. 1940. As England prepares to fight the Nazis, 3 very different women answer the call to mysterious country estate Bletchley Park, where the best minds in Britain train to break German military codes. A vivacious debutante, Ulsa, has everything: beauty, wealth, and the dashing Prince Philip of Greece sending her roses. Well, we know how that's going to go. But she burns to prove herself as more than a society girl, and puts her fluent German to use as a translator of decoded enemy secrets. Imperious self-made maid, a product of East End London poverty, works the legendary code-breaking machines as she conceals old wounds and looks for a socially advantageous husband. Both Ulsa and Mabe are quick to see the potential in local village spinster Beth, whose shyness conceals a brilliant facility for puzzles, and soon Beth spreads her wings as one of the park's few female cryptanalysts. But ward loss and the impossible pressure of secrecy will tear the 3 apart. And then, yeah, so you have 1940, and then it does move to 1947 as we get to the wedding, the royal wedding of Princess Elizabeth and Prince Philip, and yeah, post-war Britain and whatnot, and kind of these characters coming back together again. So yeah, this book sounds really great, kind of a couple little different timelines there. I can't wait. I previously read Kate Quinn's The Huntress, and I freaking loved The Huntress. It was absolutely mind-blowing, so I'm hoping I'll really enjoy this as well. Okay, the next batch of books that I have here all come from Ken Follett. So first up is The Pillars of the Earth. And it is a freaking beast of a book, you guys. All of the Ken Follett books I'm about to show you are freaking massive. Oh my god. Whew. Okay, so the first book here, The Pillars of the Earth, tells the story of Philip, Prior of Kingsbridge, a devout and resourceful monk driven to build the greatest Gothic cathedral the world has known. Of Tom, the mason, who becomes his architect, a man divided in his soul. Of the beautiful, elusive Lady Alina, haunted by a secret shame, and of a struggle between good and evil that will turn church against state and brother against brother. And yeah, when I purchased this book sometime early last year, I had just finished up watching the mini-series of Pillars of the Earth. I finally got around to watching that mini-series, and I absolutely loved it. And I was like, I definitely need to give the book a chance, because I think I'll like it just as much. And then continuing with Ken Follett, World Without End. And this also had a mini-series adaptation, which when I was done watching the Pillars of the Earth miniseries. I went into the World Without End miniseries and absolutely loved that as well. So yeah, this one is about... It doesn't really have too terribly much of a synopsis here, but it just says 2 centuries after the townspeople of Kingsbridge finished building their exquisite Gothic cathedral, 4 children slip into the forest and witness a killing, an event that will braid their lives together by ambition, love, greed, and revenge. So yeah, these books by Ken Follett, because it's called the Kingsbridge series, they don't really necessarily connect with one another because they are set like centuries apart from one another. But yeah, it's just the location that's the same pretty much, and kind of the history and backstory there that kind of connects all these books together. Yeah, I can't believe there's not really a good synopsis here for this one. I think the synopsis of this is not really giving this book justice, because I just really loved World Without End. The miniseries was so good. Because yeah, it has a lot to do with like the 100-Year War between France and England, and yeah, there's like the Black Death going on. So yeah, this book doesn't really even, the synopsis doesn't even give you any of that, which is a shame. And then the last one I have here is A Column of Fire. And yeah, this is also set in the Kingsbridge series as well, and like I said, it shifts a couple centuries and whatnot. And yeah, this one moves into 1558. The ancient stones of Kingsbridge Cathedral look down on a city torn apart by religious conflict. As power in England shifts precariously between Catholics and Protestants, royalty and commoners clash, testing friendship, loyalty, and love. Ned Willard wants nothing more than to marry Marjorie Fitzgerald, but when the lovers find themselves on opposing sides of the religious conflict dividing the country, Ned goes to work for Princess Elizabeth. When she becomes queen, all of Europe turns against England. The shrewd, determined young monarch sets up the country's first secret service to give her early warning of assassination plots, rebellions, and invasion plans. And I do believe there are plans for this to be turned into a miniseries as well. I think the COVID pandemic kind of pushed those plans a little bit to the side, but I think this is still coming. I'm just not sure when. And yeah, Pillars of the Earth and World Without End, those miniseries were done really brilliantly, so I have high faith and hope in this as well as being pretty good. The Family Plot by Megan Collins. This is a book that I won through a Goodreads giveaway. So yeah, this is a ARC copy. So yeah, this has such a great synopsis, you guys. At 26, Delilah Lighthouse remains haunted by her upbringing. Raised in a secluded island mansion deep in the woods and kept isolated by her true crime-obsessed parents, she has been unable to move beyond the disappearance of her twin brother, Andy, when they were 16. After several years away and following her father's death, Delilah returns to the house, where the family soon makes a gruesome discovery. Buried in their father's plot is another body, Andy's, his skull split open with an axe. Delilah is quick to blame Andy's murder on the serial killer who terrorized the island for decades, while the rest of the lighthouses reacted to the revelation in unsettling ways. Her brother Charlie pours his energy into creating a family memorial museum, highlighting their research into the lives of famous murder victims. Her sister Tate forges ahead with her popular dioramas portraying crime scenes, and their mother affects a cheerfully domestic facade, becoming unrecognizable as the woman who performed murder reenactments for her children. As Delilah grapples with her own grief and horror, she realizes that her eccentric family and the mansion itself may hold the answers to what happened to her twin. This just sounds all sorts of great, you guys. A family obsessed with like true crime. Genius. Lilac Girls by Martha Hall Kelly. Caroline Faraday is a former Broadway actress and liaison to the French consulate whose life is forever changed when Hitler's army invades Poland in September 1939. And then sets its sights on France. An ocean away from Caroline, Kazia, a Polish teenager, sinks deeper into her role as a courier for the underground resistance movement. In Germany, Herta, a young doctor, answers an ad for a government medical position, only to find herself trapped in a male-dominated realm of Nazi secrets and power. The lives of these 3 women are set on a collision course when the unthinkable happens and Kazia is sent to Ravensbrück, the notorious Nazi concentration camp for women. Their stories cross continents as Caroline and Kazia strive to bring justice to those whom history has forgotten. Sounds great. The Willow Wren by Philip Schott. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe this is a book that I also won through a Goodreads giveaway as well. I have really great luck winning books on Goodreads, you guys. Ludwig is an odd and introverted child growing up in Hitler's Germany. Good God, I sure do have a lot of historical fiction World War II going on in this haul, don't I? But yeah, Ludwig, he's an odd child in Hitler's Germany. While Ludwig's father, Wilhelm, is a senior Nazi and a true believer, Ludwig escapes the unfolding catastrophe by withdrawing into nature and books. Eventually, when the Allied bombing campaign intensifies, Ludwig is sent to a Hitler youth camp where his oddness makes him a target for bullying. As the war turns against Germany, the Hitler youth camp spirals toward chaos. Ludwig escapes and returns home to find his father presumed dead, while with Ludwig's mother descending into depression, the 11-year-old bears increasing responsibility for the survival of the family as starvation sets in under Russian occupation. Soon it will be impossible to leave, so Ludwig must decide whether it is possible for a boy to lead his family across the guarded frontier to freedom in the West. Well, that sounds really good. I was kind of getting like Jojo Rabbit vibes, you guys. Not totally identical to Jojo Rabbit. I loved the Jojo Rabbit movie, and this, yeah, there's kind of little vibes there. I'm kind of getting and picking up on there. So yeah, I'm hoping this is really good. So you guys, that is it for this book haul. Congrats if you made it through this video, because I think it's pretty lengthy. Yeah, any of these books that you guys have read and enjoyed, any of them that I should get around to sooner rather than later, just let me know. So that's it for this video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you like this video, you may like these other videos. Bye guys.